Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Way Home, Crossnore Communities for Children's Facebook Live, and also a video available on YouTube and a podcast. I'm Holly Kessler. I'm the Senior Director of Community Relations for Crossnore, and I'm delighted that you guys are here to learn more about what we do and how you can support us or just to even educate yourself about the work that we do in the child welfare system. I'm super excited today that our guest is one of my dearest and best friends, Miss Kelly Riley. Kelly is our Director of Foster Home Licensing and Training. And so she's going to jump on here, and I'm going to get her started by asking her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about who Kelly Riley is.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's good to be here with you, Holly. Always lots of fun. So yeah, like you said, I'm now the Director of Foster Home Licensing at Crossnore. I started at Crossnore, which was actually the children's home in Winston-Salem, in 2014, and have been in the foster care program since, and have just loved seeing it grow and being a part of all of that. So a little bit more about me. I moved with my family to the Triad in 2014. So, Crossnore is very much home for us. I have a husband and a 7-year-old who is the light of our life. And when I'm not working, I love to be out on the trails, find some good hiking spots, traveling, visiting with family. So yeah, that's me.
We're just so glad that you're here, Kelly, and Kelly is a delight to work with, so I'm glad to have her here today. So tell us about, we're going to talk about foster home. We'll get into some of the licensing and training here in a few minutes, but really, what is the need for foster homes in North Carolina? Why do we even have, a foster care program?
Yeah, I mean, the needs are huge, and you hear that everywhere. What I was thinking about this, what I would like to say is that we really need foster homes that are passionate about families. And I think a lot of times people come to us because they're passionate about children, and that's an awesome place to start. We really need folks who are also invested in supporting family wellness. Mm-hmm. So, it's just understanding that we as foster families, as child welfare staff, we can play a huge role in helping keep families connected, and as often as possible, getting them back together when they can't be safe for a season of time. So we really want to see families heal and move into their future.
Yeah, I love that, Kelly, because our mission is to grow healthy futures for children and families. And we really believe that children belong in their families as long as they can live there safely, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So our foster families play an integral role in helping create that safe environment in their home, and then helping the family of origin create a safe environment in their home. Mm-hmm. Their kids back with them. So I'm just so excited for our families that are invested in that process. Now a little bit about the kids that are needing foster homes. A lot of times people ask, what is the need? Who are the kids that you're hearing about that need foster homes? And I think there's a few things that I'd want to highlight of what we're often hearing about of who needs support. We definitely need more options for our school-age kids and for our teenagers. So I think it's important to remember that kids come into foster care through no fault of their own. Right. They come into foster care because they have been abused or neglected, and not because of any behaviors or anything that they have done wrong. And so all of our kids, whether they're age 1 or age 21, deserve a safe, loving, and nurturing home. So I'd just love to see more options for some of our older kids. Another thing I want to highlight is we have a special kind of foster care called therapeutic foster care. And so this is for young people that have some identified mental health needs. So they need some higher level of support. And so we offer additional training and wraparound services for our therapeutic foster homes who feel equipped to really meet those kids where they are, get them some access to the services that they need, support them in their own individual healing as well as in their family healing. And then the last thing I want to highlight is the need for sibling placements. Mm-hmm. So, if you think about it, regardless of the sibling bickering, that is one of the relationships that is lifelong for most of us.
Mm-hmm.
It has the potential for kids coming into foster care to be a huge source of comfort and a really big protective factor for them while they're in foster care. Unfortunately, because of availability, those siblings are often separated into different homes. But I was looking at some of our data from this year, and this year when there was a sibling group that was someone came to Crossnore and said, we need placement for these siblings. About 60% of those cases, it was 2 kids that they wanted to be placed together. And in about another 25%, there were 3 kids that they were looking for placement together. So it's not easy, but for families that can take on 2 or 3 children, what a huge gift to that family to provide them that resource in keeping their sibling connection.
Kelly, because certainly we do sometimes see large sibling groups, but more 4, 5, 6 kids, but typically those kids would come to live on one of our campuses. And for sibling groups that need to be in a home, it's typically going to be maybe 2 or 3 kids. Like you said, about 85% of our referrals are for 2 or 3 children. But also just thinking about sort of those specialized groups that you mentioned. What if somebody that wants to be a foster parent, they're willing to go through the training, but the question really is, well, what does Crossnore provide me to prepare me? Teens sometimes aren't easy to deal with just because they're teenagers, not because they're in foster care, they're just teenagers.
That's
and,
right.
Same thing like multiple kids or, like you said, therapeutic foster families, like what does Crossnore offer to prepare foster families for that?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So a few things. On the front end, we have a pretty extensive training program that we offer universally. So there's 30 hours of foster parent training, and for those that are interested in therapeutic foster care, there's another 10. And then there's some other pieces of training like CPR and those kind of things. So right off the bat, you're getting some really high quality trauma-informed training that for so many people, they tell us, they're like, I wasn't really looking forward to being in class this much, but this has changed my life. And we hear that routinely about how much it can shift your perspective on the ways that we work with and help kids and families that have been through trauma and that are involved in the child welfare system. So I think from the get-go, we provide you with information and tools and just, kind of a mindset that prepares you to take on this work. You also have dedicated staff people. So, there's nothing that can replace having someone that's in your corner. And I think Crossnore does that really well. So from day one, when you reach out and say, hey, I'm kind of curious about this foster care thing, there will be someone that's available to you to answer your questions. And then if you move forward to be licensed, you're assigned a family caseworker that will meet with you in your home on a regular basis. They're available. We have 24-hour on-call support. So you have people that are there to walk alongside of you during this whole journey. We also offer ongoing training, so continuing education every month, and additional opportunities as they come up to make sure that you have the most up-to-date evidence-based tools in your toolkit to do this work.
That's terrific. I love the fact that Crossnore is known as being a trauma-informed organization, but we train our families, our staff and our families in that same model so that even foster families, have access to that model to use it in their home. And so I love that. And then I think, there's some other supports too, like you said, that dedicated staff person, and you guys have a fairly extensive on-call system as well. So for after hours needs or whatnot. So I think Crossnore does put a lot of supports in places for those families. Mm-hmm. Well, is it hard to become licensed as a foster family? You talked about lots of training and even ongoing training after that license comes in and those kids are placed in your home. Is it a hard thing if, maybe I have some speeding tickets or, maybe I don't live in $1 million home, tell us about sort of that process and maybe even some of the requirements for being a foster family.
Sure. Well, I would not say that it's necessarily hard, but I would say that it is involved. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good thing in a lot of ways. And so this process, there's a lot of pieces and there's a lot of steps that go into it. The training is typically a 10-week course. So it takes several months to walk through it, but that allows us the opportunity to do our due diligence and make sure we're putting our kids in safe and prepared homes.
Mhm.
But for our foster families, it gives them the opportunity to really be prepared, to be thoughtful and thoroughly consider the decisions that they're making, do a lot of the hard self-reflection that comes along so that you're prepared. Our kids and our families have been through a lot, so you need to have a lot of tools, and that just takes time to develop. As far as the requirements, so in addition to training, everyone has to be 21 years or older. There's no required marital status, can be single or coupled, it doesn't matter. But other than that, we're really looking for stability. So there needs to be stable housing. It can be, you can rent or own, stable income, that you have enough to meet your needs and to, meet the needs of another child in your home. There is financial support after your license, but we do just want to make sure that there is financial stability.
Sure.
And then as far as we mentioned speeding tickets, we're all humans. And so foster home licensing, we expect that we're working with humans, and you don't have to have a squeaky clean history. There does need to be no significant recent criminal history, crimes against children, or domestic violence. Those things would be disqualifiers. But a lot of other things, if it was years ago and it's resolved, we can work through that. So we just have open dialogue about anything that would come up like that, and kind of take that case by case. But humans, it's part of life. There can't be any recent drug involvement, things like that. But overall, we want our families to be in a place where they are ready to focus on the needs of any foster children in their home. So ready to focus physically on the needs of the kids in foster care, as well as emotionally, that you can show up and really be all in. And so that just requires that there's stability in a lot of other areas of your life.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about when kids so I get my license, I go through all the training and all the background checks and everything, and I get my license, and then children are ready to be placed in my home. Do I get a say for, the number of kids or the age of kids that I feel like I'm able to take care of?
Absolutely. Yes. When we're going through the licensing process, the worker will talk extensively with your family about, what the needs are. Who are the kids that we're hearing about that need foster homes? And then, together you kind of decide, this is what we feel equipped to handle in terms of the number of children or the age range, that kind of thing. What I would encourage families to expect that no matter what child comes into your home, when a child comes into your home full time, it's going to be overwhelming and it's going to stretch you, at least for a season. That said, we want to make sure that our families are as prepared as they can be, and that it's safe for the family, safe for any kids coming into the home. And so absolutely, we would never, force families to take any particular child that would be outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah, but that stretching happens when you have a child, when you have a birth child. I remember that jump for my family from 1 to 2. It felt like we'd gone from 1 kid to 10, because this like doubled overnight. So that I think is normal when there's a new house.
And I say that too, when families are talking about the adjustment process, the same thing, for my birth daughter. I think she was about a year old when I thought, I think we're doing this. I think it's going to be okay. And so, give yourself that grace that it is a stretch, and it's hard.
Yeah.
So give it time, give yourself grace, give the kids and the families grace.
And lean on the workers. I mean, I wish I sort of had some of those supports. I was fortunate to have family supports around me when I had my kids, but if I had a dedicated worker that I could call on, that would have been amazing.
On call.
Absolutely. Well, what about other needs that Crossnore might have? So let's say I'm a foster parent. I've had a couple of kids for a while, and maybe I just need a break. I need to take a weekend away with my spouse, or I need to take my family on a vacation, or maybe we need to go somewhere and the kids are not, the foster kids maybe aren't allowed to travel out of state if we're going on vacation. what happens for kids then? How does Crossnore fill that need?
We have some families that are dedicated, what we call respite families, and that means they're there for that exact reason, just to give some reprieve, not just for the foster parents, but for the kids as well. So it's, it's such a wonderful service for our families, for the kids. And really, the kids, it gives them more supportive adults that are in their corner. If they build a connection with the respite family, it's kind of like that extended family role where, I just get a break. The rules aren't quite as strict over there. Maybe we do a lot of fun things. So it's something that our kids often really look forward to. And it's so healthy for our foster families to get that time to catch their breath, to recenter, refocus on some of their other relationships for a season, and then come back refreshed and ready to be all in with their kids again when they come back from respite.
I love that. And I love that idea of sort of that extended family role. I've heard there's a family that's working with Crossnore right now providing respite care. They spoke at an event we had recently, and they talked about getting to be those grandparents.
Yes.
And about some of the kids that they've had in their homes. They did, some things that seemed maybe normal to us, dyeing Easter eggs or, trying a particular food. And it was the first time, that child had done that thing. And what an awesome experience that they had to share that with a child and to see that child's reaction and enjoyment of something that, like I said, probably seems really normal, to other families. So I just love that idea of respite care. Is that a need that we have at Crossnore? Do we have enough respite foster families, or?
I think there's always a need. And as we look to continue to grow our pool of full-time foster parents, we need those respite parents to come alongside of them. And you mentioned, teenagers can be tough because they're teenagers. That's just a hard stage. And so for our families that are providing care for teens, for young adults, or providing therapeutic foster care for kids that have some higher level needs, having that regular routine respite is a huge part of them staying well and being able to continue to provide foster care.
Absolutely. That self-care is a really important part of our trauma-informed model. And so that respite care really helps our foster families, practice their own self-care and take care of themselves and, their marriage if they're married and, their other children. And so I just love the idea of respite foster parenting. So for folks that are really interested, what do you think is the first step for them to do to learn more or to join a class, or where would you direct folks?
I think our website is probably the best place to jump in. You can go and do a little bit of reading and just learn more about how things work. It also has all of our contact information. If you're thinking, I'm ready to talk to someone about this, you can get our contact information there. We have monthly open info sessions that you can find on our website and sign up for one of those where it's a no pressure, where we talk a little bit more about the nitty gritty of the process and what's involved, and can be a great place to start.
Yeah, that sounds terrific. And then if I'm interested in joining a class, is there like a waiting period? Do y'all have classes that start throughout the year, or?
We do. We have classes coming up in September, and there are still some spaces available for those training sessions, and then we'll have more coming in the new year. So typically every few months we're starting a new training group.
That is awesome. Do you guys have goals for the number of foster families that we're looking to license right now, or?
Yes, we do. We are aiming to license another 52 homes before July 1st of 2023.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah. And there are that many children in foster care in North Carolina.
There are. Yes, we hear about young people every day needing placements.
And are we having to turn referrals away because we don't have enough foster homes?
Constantly.
Yeah. And that's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hate to hear about that, because those kids, and it's tough for everybody. It's tough for the social workers who are trying to find a safe place for these kids to live. And it's tough on us when, we get referrals for kids that we could care for, but we don't have a home available for them. So we just really encourage anyone who's listening who maybe feels that little tug at their heart to, like Kelly said, go online, go to our website, take a look at it. and see if it's for you. You just never know, right, Kelly?
That's right.
Any-
And see where it leads.
That's right. That's right. Anything else you'd tell us about foster care before we end our time today?
No, I think really that's my best advice is take the first step and see where it leads. And it won't lead to licensure for every person, but I think we're all better off for learning about what the needs are in our communities and figuring out what our part may be.
Yeah, that's great. And I would just also encourage folks, if you're thinking about this, certainly contact Kelly and her staff. They can answer lots of questions. But in September, we have our Fostering Communities Conference coming up, September 16th and 17th. That would be a great place just to attend a conference that's relatively inexpensive. We're going to feed you some good food. There's going to be keynote speakers and breakout sessions. And you can really learn a lot about foster care and where you might fit in, whether it's as a foster parent, maybe as a volunteer, maybe as a church or a civic group that wants to help support, but you can figure that out. So we really encourage you to check out the Fostering Communities Conference. It's also on our website. So thanks so much to Kelly and for you for being here. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all the work that you do with foster families and with the kids that they care for. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week right here on The Way Home.